G'day ladies and germs, Conor here from C-Dubs Media, back with another video. And today we're doing my 10-point review on the Pixel 8 Pro. Now I have been using this for a couple of months now, a little bit over, and it's been my daily driver. Nothing else has entered my pocket, just the Pixel 8 Pro. And I've really been enjoying my time with it. However, it's not all beer and Skittles. There's some flaws here, and as much as it pains me as a Pixel fanboy to say it. Now just quickly, I did a couple of videos on Pixel 8 Pro cases, but my favorite case and most used case is the quad lock case. So I would say check this out. I'll put some links down below to it. Now the biggest flaw with the Pixel 8 Pro, in my humble opinion, is the price increase. Now I don't care about America or England or any of those other places because I'm in Australia and I have a big $400 price increase from last year's device to this one. It is no way justifiable. Now, I've heard some people say like in the US, it's like $100 increase or whatever. I don't know what the fuck happens here in Australia, but somehow it equates to a $400 price increase. So if you like screwing over big tech, then say that to Google for this one because they really have punched the Aussies in the rear end with that. So that's my biggest gripe. I'm going to not talk about it again because it just makes me want to say to you, shop elsewhere. But it's now the same price as the other flagships. Well, you could get the Galaxy Flip 4 if you want to be different. Or if you just want to be a real dick, you could get the iPhone, you know. So it makes it hard for me to justify getting the Pixel 8 Pro. I know, I'm rambling. So we're going to go into some other points. The first one is not very good either. And I know, like I said, I'm a fanboy, Pixel fanboy. I love this phone, love the Pixel lineup. But the battery, it's really just a one-day phone. Some people might say it is doing better than one day. I'm a medium to heavy user. I try not to use my phones as much as I love tech. And I still only get one day out of it. Now, if I don't charge it, I think by just after lunch, I'm down to 50%, which is a solid half a day for me. Like I get up at 5 a.m. By 10, I'm down to like 15%. So it's definitely not a day and a half phone. It's one day only, and I can't recommend it. If battery life is your one thing you must have, 2 days, day and a half battery life, you're not going to get it here. You're going to get one full day. But in the city life, that's probably all you need. I mean, I charge it on the way to work in Android Auto. I charge it at work on my little Belkin speaker. I charge it on the way home with Android Auto. So I get through a day just fine. But if I really needed to scrape through, like some days I go and do a day of street photography in the city and I don't use my phone much because I'm doing photography and I don't get through the full day. Or I just get through the full day. So, okay. Enough about the battery. The next thing is a positive in my opinion, and that is the build quality. There's been some slight color changes and everyone raved about bay blue color. I dig it obviously and I got it. I almost went and got bay blue earbuds as well, even though I already have earbuds, so I stopped myself there. But I guess that just says how well I like that color. It's definitely different. You don't see too many phones of this color. It's got a bit of a matte finish as well across their colors, so it's looking different in that regard as well. And I think for a big design change, which I will lead into as another point as well, is the flat display. Everyone's raving about it. Doesn't matter who you are, the flat display is a win in my humble opinion. Now in my 10-point review, my third point is the display in general. Now I just spoke about it to say that the flat display is a good change, and I think the rest of the display speaks for itself as well. So this is 2400 peak nit brightness. So that's a lot of nittage. You got some full-on screen brightness there. I have never struggled to look at this phone. Out at the beach, Australian sunshine has no match for the Pixel 8 Pro. Crank it up high and you will not have any issues seeing it. And then you can also crank it down low if you need to when you're in dull light. So you really get the full spectrum there. And I do also like that it is 120 Hertz refresh rate, but not just 120 Hertz, between 1 and 120 Hertz. So I like that. It is buttery smooth, really nice. It does offer HDR support as well, which I think is pretty nice. And I think the colors look really good on this display. I mean, look at that. That just looks awesome. It's also 489 PPI and Gorilla Glass Victus 2 or 3. What is it? Victus 2. Anyway, the display is amazing. You're definitely going to love it. It's the best display, I think, on the market. Now, my fourth point is the day-to-day performance. It absolutely performs just fine for me. There is an area of it I'm concerned about with the temperature of the device. Now, it does heat up, and there's no sort of reason that I can pinpoint. Like, it may be a bit of heavy use, like a bit of gaming or something like that, but it noticeably heats up, and I don't really know how to throttle that, because it can also happen just from being plugged into Android Auto, which is charging it, plus running Android Auto through it as well. While it's heating up, it still performs really well for me. I don't get any stutters on it. I watch content on it. I do a little bit of gaming on it. Sometimes I've got two apps open and I'm copying and pasting to the other. I do photo editing on it and a little bit of video editing. Now, it crunches through those tasks well enough. I'm not disappointed in its performance in any way. The only issue I had, which I just mentioned, was it does get pretty hot from time to time. Why? I don't know, but it does. Cranking through the 10 points here, and my fifth point is this security. Now, yes, it's got all the security features that are built in behind the scenes by Google. They're pretty awesome. You know, that two-factor authentication, monthly security updates, and that sort of thing. But for me, it's that first wall of security if someone steals my device. Face Unlock for me for Android 14 is killer. Even my 7 Pro just became usable. Like with the 7 Pro, I didn't use Face Unlock. It wasn't reliable enough. But all of a sudden, with Android 14, I'm getting some really fast Face Unlock results, and it is my now go-to unlock method, whereas previously it's been fingerprint. So I'm really digging that. I think the Face Unlock and the fingerprint scanner are well improved from previous iterations. And you also get that built-in VPN, which isn't just an 8 Pro feature, but I think it's worth mentioning that it's built in. Like, there is some expensive VPN apps out there that are like $150, $200 a year. Here, you get it built in. That's cool. Okay, number 6 is probably my favorite area for the Pixel device, and I think it's where it stands out, and I think it's where Google needs to continue to focus, because it is so far ahead of like Apple and some of the other manufacturers that it's hard to beat, and that's with the smart AI features. For me, simple things like using the translation features are well ahead of the competitors, especially that you can do it offline. Like, I can take this phone overseas, download the languages on it, not have an internet connection, and use it as a translator. And I can hold a button down, speak into it, it will then translate it to another language and speak it in spoken word to the person I'm trying to talk to. And then they can do the same and communicate back to me. So for me, it's like really cool, because I do a little bit of travel and I love that feature. But then you've also got the day-to-day features of call screening. Now, I use that a lot. Now, I get unknown phone numbers coming through on my phone and I just press call screen. Google takes over, intervenes. If it's a spammer, they hang up straight away. If it's important, they actually stay on the line. That's been my experience. And if it is an important call for me, they tend to stay on the line. They can explain why they're calling, and I get a live transcription on my display of what they're saying. And then I choose whether I want to take that call or not. So amazing AI features, smart features there. Now, they are also built into the device as well when it comes to editing photos and doing photography. I'll touch on more of that throughout this video. And you can also have your feed customized on your home screen, so you can get updates about flights that are being delayed, packages being delivered, earthquake warnings, weather warnings, all this stuff just live on your display. I think Google does it better than anyone, and I really do appreciate that. It actually makes my life easier. And that's what tech should be. Now, my point number 7 on the Pixel 8 10-point review is the video features. I mentioned it in my initial video, and I really do like the video features. Why? Because they now offer 24 frames per second in video mode, 4K. Now, that to me is a cinematic video mode, and it's still probably going to look a bit digitally sharpened because it's a small phone sensor. However, it's nice to have. I wish they would also give us the option to have NTSC and PAL, but they don't. But 24 frames per second is pretty cool. Now you can also use portrait video mode, and that gives the background blur, but it's not really cinematic in the sense of what Hollywood cinema would look like. I mean, that's why they film in 24 frames per second in Hollywood, and they call that cinematic, to make it look film-like. So I'm happy to have that. I think it's really cool. I love the results. Now, one thing I did notice with the video is that the HDR support is in a new codec, and it's not compatible on all devices that it could be viewed on. So someone might watch my video being played back and think, well, that looks pretty washed out and looks pretty bad. But if they're viewing it on a Pixel device, it's going to look incredible. And until third-party providers catch up, you're just going to get a bit of hit and miss there. But if you've got the right device with the right codecs, the video is going to look just as good as any other flagship device on the market. And you also get 4K video on the front-facing camera, and both front and rear are pretty well stabilized. I'm pretty impressed with the video these days on the Pixel 8 Pro. Again, it gets pretty hot. I haven't had it overheat yet for me. All the other Pixel devices overheated for me after more than, say, 10 minutes of filming in the Aussie summer sun. And I haven't had that happen yet, but I haven't been filming too much outdoors. So I think, you'll have to watch that, and I'll put comments down below if I do experience overheating when using video. And I'm into the point where your device is not usable. I haven't had that yet. I have had it feel hot, but I haven't had it tell me it's shutting down. So that's pretty cool. Now, number 8 is the editing features. And this is what I was talking about before with the smart AI. We also have AI now in the camera editing. And everyone's been raving about it. Google as well, when they talk about top shot. So there's 4 people in the photo, one of them's not smiling, it replaces their face with a photo of theirs from when they are smiling. A little bit creepy, not really photography in my sense. Like, photography for me is capturing the moment for the memory's sake, and making things fake isn't really what it's about for me. But if it is what it's about for you and you like all that stuff, then it's amazing. You can also move people around in images or objects. You can move them around or completely delete them out of the photo. Again, not really my thing, but it is an amazing AI feature. It's computational, it's amazing, it's incredible with some of the detail that's involved in this. And I think it sets itself apart from the competitors. Now you can also have these magic little button that you press and it changes the sky and stuff like that. Again, I think it's going too far. A lot of people might like it, but it's not really for me, but it is pretty awesome. And there's even more editing AI features in the device as well around the wallpaper, but I'll touch on that shortly. Now, number 9 for my 10-point review on the Pixel 8 Pro is the camera features. We actually now have some manual controls over the camera, enabling us to choose how our photos look rather than just letting it all become computational and unrealistic, which I do really like. As I was talking about with the editing and with the video, computational photography on smartphones it's pretty much taken over. So it's nice to get some manual controls back. We decide what sort of photo we're taking. I'm always trying to get it to look realistic and try and dial back the settings and less face filters and less sky filters. You ever take a photo and you look at your phone and you go, holy shit, the sky didn't look that amazing in real life, but it's twice as saturated on your phone. And there's a fair bit of that happens with the Pixel device. But you can take the control back now with Pro mode. We also have 50 megapixel mode, which gives you that really fine detailed photography. And we also have an improved macro mode, which I do use sometimes, but it's gimmicky as well. There's 2 areas of this camera which I think are gimmicky but don't get the credit they deserve for being gimmicky. One is macro. I mean, on a smartphone, you can just go up nice and close, take a photo and crop in, and it looks like a macro photo anyway. And then telephoto. And yes, they can do a good job of taking a telephoto pic, but you're not going to win any awards with these. It's pretty limited. The photos look pretty bad when you stack them up against, say, a mirrorless camera or even a DSLR, older DSLRs. You just can't get that quality when it comes to your smartphone. So I do label the telephoto and the macro as a little bit gimmicky, but they're there to be used within reason and they do a pretty good job. And I just want to mention that I do notice that the photos look a little bit washed out as well. I'm not too happy about that. It's the first time that I have experienced this with the Pixel devices where I've taken photos and gone, oh, that doesn't look right. So I did notice that some of the photos can look washed out. I can't really pinpoint why. Hopefully with some software updates, they won't look so washed out. My last point is customizations. Pixel devices and customizations, they're pretty bare bones. There's a few little tips and tricks here and there that you can go in and make the device personal to you. And here's a link here to a video with 10 settings you need to change straight away for the Pixel device. But for me, one of the features I like is creating AI wallpapers. So you can go into the settings and you can choose create a wallpaper with an image of a lighthouse made out of silk in these two colors, and it spits out 4 or 5 AI images that you can choose from, and they look pretty awesome. Now they are a bit arty and definitely like sci-fi sort of feel to them. They are AI, it's not reality, but they're not claiming it to be. They're telling you what it is, and the results I think look pretty awesome. Now that's it, that's the 10-point review, but I just want to quickly summarize. Areas for improvement. The price. And to be fair, I have seen the prices reduced by $400 across Australia in certain retail stores, so keep an eye out for a good deal. That's what sets it apart previously, and it's still what sets it apart now. But at full price, it's a scam, and they scam people like me who pre-ordered it, the faithful ones. You have to pay full price, scammers, and then they reduce the price for people because they can't sell them. Next thing, the thermometer. I didn't mention it in the review, but I think you should delete it. Don't even tell people it's got one because you'll embarrass yourself. Just pretend the thermometer is part of the iPhone or some shit. Don't tell them it's part of the Pixel device. It is so far off. Like, you measure the temperature of your coffee, it's going to be 5 to 10 degrees out. Measure the temperature of your forehead, it's going to tell you you're the living dead. So don't show people the thermometer on it. Don't tell them it's got it. It's embarrassing. Google, you should just delete it. I don't know what they were thinking, but it's there, but don't tell anyone. Now, the other thing that I want to mention is I always think it's too big. It's too big for me. I would like these specs in a 6-inch device. Yes, I know the 8 has that, but then you're cutting some corners there with the telephoto lens and some other areas. I want everything this has to offer, but in a smaller device. I wouldn't mind a little bit thicker, but shrink down that screen size, that overall footprint, especially when most of us these days are trying to use them less, not use them more because they're full of poison, really. But that's another story, that's another video. That is my review of the Pixel 8 Pro. I really hope you enjoyed it. I've enjoyed using the device. I've enjoyed making this video because there's some differences here that were worth mentioning. Thank you all for watching. I appreciate it. Catch you in the next video. Check ya. Check ya. Check you later. Check you later. Thumbnails.